welcome to Real Life Conversations. This is a platform for you where we just have guests in and share their stories, and we learn from their stories. We see what God is doing. We see what the Christian life is all about. We pray about issues. So welcome. We are so glad that you could join us today. My name is Janet Kariki Wahinya, and I am your host. Today we are privileged to have a pastor from CITAM. Her name is Pastor Reverend Fidel Baraza, and she's also a doctor, and she will be sharing with us her journey in bringing up a child with special needs. She'll tell us what the special needs are. We'll just start from the beginning, and then we'll just see the journey and learn from it. And we are so honored, Pastor Fidel, that you could come today and just share something that is very personal, very close to your heart. So I'll just allow you to introduce yourself, to say hi to everybody who's going to be joining us, who's going to be watching it right now or in the future, and then we'll go on from there. Karibu sana.
Thank you, Reverend Janet. My name is Rev Dr Fidel Baraza. Yes, I hold a PhD in education, Doctor of Philosophy in Education, with emphasis in child development and family studies. I have served with CITAM for the last 17 years.
Wow,
I joined CITAM
17.
in 2006 as an intern pastor and was taken on a board full-time as a children's pastor in 2007 to date.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Those are many years. That's a lifetime, a working lifetime. That is amazing to know.
Yes.
All right. So today you get to share with us the story of your beautiful daughter.
My beautiful daughter,
Yeah.
Rosella Miracle.
All right.
Rosella means my secret is God, and yes, her journey is a miracle, as her name goes. Rosella was born in 2010. She's twin too. She is a twin. She had a twin sister, Leah Blessing, who went to be with the Lord 3 weeks after their birth. They were born prematurely. So they were prematures, born at 30 weeks gestation period. And
30 weeks is early.
yeah, that was early. She was only 1750 grams at birth.
that is tiny.
Yeah, tiny miracles. You know, I'll kangaroo them. You know what kangaroo means? It's skin to skin contact, mother child,
okay.
especially done for premature children, and so that then they are able to have that skin to skin contact with the mothers and all that. And believe you me, Rosella will fit in, you know, on my chest, like in between my breasts, and just slip into and fit in.
So
She was so tiny, but precious little girl. And so I've watched her and seen the faithfulness of God when He says that the Lord your God, your Redeemer, who stretches the whole, you know, the heavens all by myself. I know what that means because I've really seen God through the life of Rosella. So Rosella lives with cerebral palsy and autism spectrum disorder, which comes under the umbrella of neurodevelopmental disorders.
And when did you discover this?
When did I discover this? I think that's a journey on its own, because what happened is that she was born in March 2010, and we stayed in the hospital up to about September 2010. Hopping from one hospital to another because you know, just trying to get life. This life that we live is, it doesn't just come easy. And when we got out of hospital, we still had to have daily visits, you know, to the hospital for therapies and for all that. And the doctors will give me an appointment. After an appointment, they will give me sealed envelopes like, take to this doctor. So I take to this doctor, take to that doctor. I think I did that the whole of 2011.
She was born in
2012.
2010. Okay.
In 2012, I was given a sealed envelope to take to a particular doctor. This particular time, I told myself, what is it about my child that doctors always give me sealed envelopes to take to doctors? So I decided to open up the envelope and just find out about, you know, what it was all about. And that's the first time I saw that my child had been diagnosed with cerebral palsy. And so, you know, the condition was cerebral palsy. And though I had heard probably about the name cerebral palsy, it had never registered. So this particular time I see it and I'm like, cerebral palsy? What I wanted to understand it in detail. I decided to go to Mr. Google. You know, Google doesn't lie. I mean, minced words. So I decided, let me go to Google.
There was Google in 2010.
2012.
2012.
There was.
Yeah.
So I went and Googled, and Google says this is a lifetime condition. I'm like, what do you mean, a lifetime condition? And of course, the description that Google gave scared me out of my skin. I was like, what? How? Where? Where do I begin? But you see, at that particular time, my daughter, even though I was with her, none of her joints was actually like holding and all that. Her entire body was myopic, so that, like, you couldn't, the way you try to even jump your child on your laps and all that, my child's joints couldn't hold. Her head had not held, her neck had not held. I had to support her head, like, really, anytime I'm carrying her, support the head. The head is the heaviest organ on somebody's body. Support her head and all that. And so I was like, my child could not sit even at that particular time. So I was still doing therapies
she
and
at
all
this
that.
point? That is 2010, almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years we're talking about.
She couldn't sit.
Yeah, she couldn't sit, she couldn't stand, she couldn't do anything. She couldn't really even respond. She couldn't even recognize me, so to speak, or so I think, because she was just emotionless. Whether I was in a room or not in a room, it didn't change anything in around her. So I couldn't tell whether she knew I was her mother or not. Yeah.
Was she crying a lot?
Well, kinda, in a way, not much at that particular time, but yes, in a way, but yes, yeah.
All right. So many trips to the hospital. And how are you managing
not
work?
even so many. It was daily trips. It was daily trips. Yeah.
How did you manage work?
It was hard because even in the midst of ministry and work, it was a challenge because, you see, I was coming from a child who isn't well, and I have daily trips to the hospital, emotionally draining as a person, to me as an individual and all that. But then still, as a pastor, people expected me to be there for them and still execute my duties and still attend to them and still be able to counsel with them and give them a listening ear and probably visit the ones who are bereaved, visit the ones who are sick and all that. But of course, at some point it was hard balancing all that. And but I think looking back, it was just God. When our backs were against the wall, it's only by the grace of God. I can't tell how He did it and how I did it. I don't know how I managed, but somehow, somewhat, I was still a pastor and I was still taking care of my daughter. Yeah.
All right. Several years down the line, how did that progress? Now you have a child who's can't stand, can't walk. Did she get to stand and walk eventually? So how was the journey?
She did. She was able to come through that. But then again, working with our journey has always been a journey with the doctors, and we don't work with one doctor at any given time. We have several doctors around us, and so how we have managed this is that we work with the doctors, particular people in specific areas guiding us and all that. And so at such an early age, I think in 2013, the neurologist then said that she needed to go to school. And so I was like, this child to go to school at this early age and all that. Was it even in 2013 or it's the same 2012?
2 years.
Yes, she began, let her go to school. So I was like, the child can't sit well, the child can't make sense of anything. How do I take her to school and all that? And the neurologist was like, at times, when she goes to school, she'll be challenged by the other children, and then she'll be able to put in effort and all that. But of course, remember, we were doing occupational therapy. So we had daily occupational therapies, but then again, they prescribed for her to go to school very early. So her going to school was medically prescribed. It wasn't just like, Fidel, wake up, take your child to school. It was a medical prescription. School to come into the picture as part of medical management. Yeah, I looked for, a kindergarten just around there where we stayed. I took her, but you see, I had to carry her, take her. You leave her there seated, like, not even like seated in the right posture and all that. you carry plus everything, the feeds you're giving the teacher, and you're like, here's my number, I'm on standby, please, and anything. But trust you me, she was there like for a term or two.
This is normal school or
No,
special?
yeah, it was normal school.
Ah.
Initially, it was normal school, just a kindergarten normal school. So that then she saw, because she was an only child again at home. So it was just me, of course, the adults around her. And so the prescription was also so that she can be able to get children around her and then be able to see that children are supposed to be able to sit, stand, and walk and all that. But it worked. Yeah, it did work, because after some time she began to like also stand on, chairs and all that. But she was doing occupational therapy alongside that to teach her how to stand and all that, and also just maybe strengthen the muscles, the joints and all that. And so it worked, and she began to stand and to, but then coming to walk was another. So she was able to sit and stand, but walking, I think we walked at about 6 years or so. I remember we had this special walker that had been made for her from Kenyatta Hospital, because we outgrew the walkers in the market anyway. We outgrew them. And she's a big-bodied girl. She's really big-bodied.
Got
And
your height?
actually, in 2 years' time, she'll be my height. Just in 2 years' time, she's going to be my height. And she's also a big... At times, we share a few clothes here and there. Me and her.
Nice.
Yeah, especially the tops. So she's big-bodied. And so we outgrew the workers in the market. And so we had to get a specialized one from Kenyatta Hospital. And the court where we used to stay, at some point, when she was around 4 years or so, I'll put her in the walker, and you're supposed to make her walk, and I'll do that with the house help. And of course, the pain, she's crying, she's wailing, the pain. And as she does that, you also cry out as a mother. You see the pain in your child and all that. And it will break my heart to see her cry, and yet I have to do it. That is what the medics are telling me to do. And even if I don't do it, that is what the occupational therapist will do, and then tell me to do and keep doing, because anyway, it was expensive. It's not, it wasn't cheap. It was expensive. So to have a therapist on a daily basis, and every time they come is 2,500. It was so much. And so we'll do that. The neighbors would actually shout from their windows, and some of them would actually insult me very badly. Careless mother, why are you doing that to a child? Why can't you just let the child be? Let the child, when it's their time to walk, they will walk. And there's one time, they really hurled a lot of insults, at me and all that. And you see, as they're doing that, they don't know that my child is crying and I'm also crying, because it's hard on me. And the neighbors
And
are
you need to do
and
it.
they're watching, and they're, calling you
Criticizing
all sorts of
judging.
names and judging and all that. But that has been the journey. But eventually she walked. That's the beauty of it all.
Must have
She
been a good day.
eventually she walked. I can't even remember where she walked, but she eventually did. Yeah, though she has a stagger, she still struggles. The knees and the ankles are weak. Actually, I was telling you last week we were in hospital. We just the whole week from Tuesday to Saturday we were in hospital. She went through orthopedic surgery on her legs, both legs. She's right now in plasters because there were tightness in the knees and in the. There was some tightness in the knees and in the ankles and weak joints. So walking becomes a problem and all that. And so we are still on the journey, but she's been able to walk. She has a stagger. She hasn't been able to run, but I'm like, at least she's mobile. She's able to walk from point A to point B. Running is a non-issue for me. Yeah, whether she has a stagger, stupor, whatever it is, it's a non-issue. God is faithful. Yep.
All right. The diagnosis was, so did you open after you opened the envelope, you delivered it to the hospital? I'm taking you back.
Yes, I talked to the doctor, but of course I already now knew what it was.
Okay.
Because this was a neurologist who was sending me to a dentist. a dentist. But he had written the prescription to the dentist, but sealed it in an envelope. So I don't know at what point I was supposed to know that my child has cerebral palsy. Now, but then let me just tell you that it wasn't just cerebral palsy. As we have gone along, the time she was before 5 years, around 4 years, I go to a different doctor, and now I'm told, oh, actually, your child is not just cerebral palsy. Your child has delayed developmental milestones. And so another big term. So I'm like, what? And in fact, before we even get to delayed developmental milestones, while we were still in hospital, remember I said she was born in March, and then we got out of hospital in September. And by that time, we had gone to 3 different major hospitals. Now, in the last hospital we were on, and I'm not going to disclose which hospitals, the doctor, when we had moved from ICU, we ended up in ICU. We were in ICU. It was a matter of life and death for her. Now, when we had gotten out of ICU, we went to HDU, and from HDU, we went to the normal children's ward. Now, while at the normal children's ward, I kept on trying to make her sit. And so the pediatrician one of the times came and was like, Mama Miracle, why is it that every time I walk into the ward, I'm finding you trying to make Miracle to sit? And I was like, you see, Daktari, I'm looking at her. She's my firstborn. So I was like, I'm thinking children are supposed to be sitting at particular months. I think I've had maybe at 3 months, she's supposed to at least be sitting upright. But you see, my daughter has been in hospital from the time she was born. And now, you see, we're almost in September. So I'm thinking maybe she's delayed. And so the doctor goes like, anyway, somebody has to make you know about it. Your child suffers from I think she said, suffers from delayed milestones, delayed developmental milestones, delayed developmental milestones. So I'm like, delayed developmental milestones? What is delayed developmental milestones? So begins to explain to me, you see, there are milestones that children need to go through when they are born by this age and that age. But now for your child, it is delayed, and unfortunately, it's not going to come by its own. It needs therapy, occupational therapy. And so I'm like, occupational therapy? What is occupational therapy? Like, don't worry, it will be done right here in hospital. So she prescribes that, and we begin occupational therapy when we were still in hospital. So somebody begins to come and do the occupational therapy. And so I get to know about occupational therapy. So we get out 2 years later, I'm seeing the prescription from now the neurologist, cerebral palsy, another big term. I'm like, okay, delayed developmental milestones, now cerebral palsy. Fast forward, like 4 years, at 4 years, I go to a different doctor, and this doctor now goes like, I think your child suffers from global developmental milestones. Now I'm like, okay, delayed developmental milestones, cerebral palsy, now global developmental milestones. So what is global developmental milestones? It means that she doesn't just have one condition. There are chances that she's suffering from more than one condition. So it may not just be CP alone. I'm suspecting she also has autism spectrum disorder. So what is autism spectrum disorder? You see? So I've just gone on hearing, and I'm like, okay, so how do we determine and how do we know for sure she has autism spectrum disorder? Like, yeah, we have some clinical tests that we can be able to do to ascertain that. As a mother, you go out of your way, anything that you know will help your child to lessen their pain and to help them, just be able to achieve what they should be achieving in life. So I'm like, okay, Daktari, let's subject her to the test. Of course, hoping against all odds that it turns out negative. But then it turns out positive, but mildly. So it's like, okay, it's mild, but she's on the spectrum for sure. So I'm like, okay, so she has cerebral palsy and she has autism. Yes, so global developmental delays there. I'm like, all right, so we begin. So we are now managing 2 conditions at this particular time. And how are we managing the conditions? We are managing them medically with the doctors. you are managing them with the teachers. Remember, she was taken to school, so she's still in
yeah.
school, and the teachers don't even understand, her condition and all that. They're also trying. And special needs institutions, if you go to the public ones, they don't have the facilities, they don't have the infrastructure, there are no human resource for the same. You go to the private ones, and I'm telling you, they are way out of the normal, Kenyan economy, economic standards and all that. Now you go to the normal schools. We tried. At some point I said, I cannot even, afford the privates, the private ones or the public ones. It just can't work. It will make her regress. Let me try to just go to the normal schools. We go and we knock doors, and the doors are shut on us. Like, no, we cannot take her in. Is she able to feed herself? No. Is she able to stay alone without a minder? No. Is she able to take herself to the washroom? No. No, we cannot take her in. And so we have been rejected in a number of schools. Went to a number of schools, they said no. So we said, okay, we cannot, it only means we either stay at home or something has to be done. So the only option we had was to look for probably a good school, but private school. And I can tell you the costs are way expensive. And then of course now managing with the clinicians, the therapists. So we have the doctors, professional doctors, then we have the therapists on the side, then we have the schools that we have to work with the teachers. So I'm trying to show you the link, and we all work together. And then the home aspect of it, the home care and nutrition, you also manage it with nutrition and all that. So that has then been our work, how we have been able to work with her as we go along up to that, and just going step by step, systematic by systematic, and holding her hand as we go along. And we achieve our things. They delay, some come, we achieve them. And so even though we are 13 years chronologically, that is our chronological age, developmentally we are at different, stages. There are aspects where we will be maybe we are still in is it toddler stage, because my child is yet to achieve her speech. So she is nonverbal.
But does she understand when you talk?
Yeah, she has receptive language. So she understands. When you talk to her, she understands and all that. She has receptive language, but she doesn't have expressive language. And so we have tried, and we are still continuing to try, with speech therapy. We have been doing speech therapy for a while, and we continue. But I think at this particular age and time, the option I have is also to explore sign language. And so that then, because what is communication? Communication is somebody to be able to express themselves and receive information, be able to process it, and then express themselves. And so we have tried to give her, and humanly speaking, we are trying to do the speech therapies and all that, to see what she can be able to attain. But it's proving difficult. We still believe in a God who performs miracles, and a God who says, I'm the one who gives man their mouth. And I still believe in a God who says, out of the mouth of babes is ordained praises. And I'm still calling on to the God and saying, God, even out of the mouth of this particular girl, she's gonna, be able to raise praises unto you, and she won't praise you in the grave. She's gonna praise you here on earth, because her voice is needed here. But while at that, I think it's also good for me to be able to empower her. And so God enabling, God helping as finds help. As again I said, it's very expensive. Some of these things you are not just able to do them like this and that. You know about them, but then you have to schedule and when possible. And so now my next schedule bucket, item on the bucket to go for is to empower her with sign language, so that then she's able to express herself, because she's a brilliant girl again. She knows she'll want to talk and express herself, but then she's very limited. Yes, in her expressions. Yeah.
That is a journey of miracle.
That's the journey of miracle. But then again, as I said just before, you know, that is one aspect. But then there are other places, maybe she's not you know, there are other places where she'll be like a 6-year-old. There are places where she's 8. But there are places once in a while where I know she's actually a 13-year-old. Oh, yeah. And she'll express herself. Like, if you dress smartly, miracle will come to you and she'll be like, you're smart. Even herself, you know, she'll be like, you know, she can know if you have bought her something new, she'll go for the new one and she'll tell you it's smart or it's not smart. Yeah, so you can tell, this we are not so far away from.
She understands smart, you know, because more babies don't.
Yeah.
Oh, great.